Hi everybody. Welcome to Why Ovals Are Evil. Oval ornaments can be one of the most difficult uh, ornaments to do for one reason. It's not a tough shape, but as many of you have found out, they kind of always look wonky. The stitches don't look straight. I've had a few people that have specifically asked me for help with them. I had a Zoom class on it, and I'm going to give you some of the same tips that I used in that class today. So I'm going to switch cameras over so that you can see what I do on the computer to be able to get the templates that I'll use for this. Now, it's not a stitched piece, I know, and you're going to have to accommodate for that, and we'll talk about that as we go on. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. So over here is Open Office. It's a free program. It's an open software program that is similar to my Microsoft Publisher, which I use to make my templates. You can just search that online and you'll go into Apache and you'll download that. Just make sure that make sure that they don't try to change your browser or anything like that. So we're going to hit drawing. I'm going to come over here and close this box here. It shows you how many, if you want to add pages, things like that. And I'm going to open this, bring this down a little bit so we have more workroom. We're going to come up here to the right and we're going to grab our ellipse tool. And we're going to click and drag it. I am going to, I think I'll leave it blue for this so you can see it. So over here, you click on position and size right here. And we're going to put 5 by 4.5. Okay, and how did I come up with this number? Well, we take our lovely quilting ruler and we can see that it's 5 1/8 by just over 4 1/2. It's like one stitch beyond. When you measure it, you're going to have a stitched piece. You're going to measure it after you have cut your circle out 1/2 inch, generous 1/2 inch, darted it, folded it all under, right? Give it a little steam like I do in all my videos, pushing the tabs down, right? Then you measure your circle, okay? Now, this is a ornament that I actually painted the master for Scott Church, because Scott does not paint on needlepoint canvas. So I paint masters for CBK Needlepoint. And when I did this, why ovals are so evil is because unless you count stitch paint your entire outside of your oval, it can kind of shift. And if you look here at the top stitch on this side and follow that straight across, you can see that there's 2 extra above, 2 or 3 extra above on the opposite side. So if you followed your stitches as the center line, it would be askew. It's a real problem with ovals. So we're going to line this up according to our stitch our stitches on the front, because otherwise, if we use these lines here and these, if they're not exactly, if they've become a little skewed, it's never going to look straight when you hang it, because your stitches will kind of always be off depending on how you put this oval in the center. And it's very difficult to line them up. So this is how I make my template, is like this. Okay. So here we have our circle up over here, and we have our size that we think we want. So I'm going to click on that so that all the green dots are up. I'm going to grab a line, the line icon here, and it's going to give me our little 4 ways. And we can see the line, and I'm going to line it up. Don't hover on it because it'll let you move your circle. Just beyond it so you have your crosshairs. All right, and I'm going to start making my line across. Now see how it tracks? Hit the shift key and it'll make it perfectly straight across. All right, and unclick the button before you let go of your shift. So now we print it and we get this. Okay. Now, herein lies the crazy part. All right. So we have this piece, and like this. Now I'm going to switch cameras now that I'm done making our template. But after you print this, if you find that it is too close, you're going to cut it out, okay? And all of this is already all darted over. It's all behind it, right? So you have this piece that's ready to go onto your foam core, okay? What happens is, yeah, I just totally lost my train of thought. So what you can do is you have all of your darts traveling to the back, right? You're going to put your template inside to make sure that it's small enough to accommodate fitting inside. Okay, if it does not fit inside and you've measured a little too big, now's the time to rectify that. Okay, because then you can come, and you might even want to do it before. You can do one circle here and make a second circle here. We're gonna highlight everybody and move everything up. What I did is, instead of individually clicking on each piece, I came way out here and I clicked and I dragged across. Now everybody's highlighted, so everybody will move together. Okay. At this time, I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to hit copy. Click off so nothing's highlighted. Right click and hit paste. Grab it and pull it down. Okay, so now you've copied it, right? So now I want you to click on just the circle. All right, and you're going to make it a little smaller, say 0.37, and do this 4.8. Okay, now I got to move. I want these little green bars to be in the middle, right? I'm going to grab it and move it down just a skosh, just a little hair. So now they're pretty much hitting those green bars. All right, so now I can print out this sheet and I can have 2 up so I don't have to come back in here and mess with this. Okay, I'm going to switch cameras again. Okay, so this is where it starts to get a little kind of crazy. because we're not using a stitched piece, it's hard for me to show you what I'm talking about. All right, so we have the piece that the template that I have here that is not, so typically, so we cut this out. Now at this point, this piece would be, you know, stitched. And you have it all turned under, darted, all of that happy stuff, right? Typically, I don't usually, do I do this with scissors? Depends on what I make the template out of. Now, remember, we're pretending that this is flipped over. Okay, it's all cut, all of that, right? So, when we put it on, excuse me, I have absolutely no moisture in my hands. All right, and I want to look and see. So let's take our ruler, okay, and I just need a lot to know that I am hitting the same stitch all the way across, right? So for purposes just for this, because I can't mark on this canvas, it's for sale. I'm just going to put a piece of tape there. And there. Now you can do this before you dart it and turn your piece over. You can put a pencil mark, and by putting a pencil mark there on your canvas, follow that stitch line across your stitched piece, put a pencil mark there. Okay, so you have pencil marks there. Cut it out, dart it, turn it around, steam it. All right, so you'll know where those marks are. So then when you lay your template over, well, on the inside, actually, I do this on the front for the first initial measurement. Okay, I can go over a couple stitches here. And still there. Okay, and see how much room I have all the way around. I feel like this, is this the bigger one? No. I feel like this might encroach too closely. If this was actually my stitched piece, right? This isn't going to be enough turning room, potentially, to fit inside. So this is what I was talking about. Here's our bigger one. I've also done a smaller one just in case I need a little bit more playroom on the inside. You know, when we're, so here it's the stitched piece and it's turned under. We're going to take our piece here. It's all, we've now darted it, steamed it, okay? And when we put it in, we'll pull all that up and do a tester with this before you cut your foam core, okay? Because I can see from the back side, but that dart is going to be here. So when you open that up, put your template on the inside, you lay your darts back down, you can adjust your circle, your template, your oval, to be parallel, so you know that this oval is straight within this oval. Because a lot of times what happens is after you've turned it all in and you put the oval in, you think, yeah, that looks pretty, that looks straight in there. You know, here's your oval. And then you wrap it around, you turn it to the front, and you realize that that oval is just a little cockeyed. It's not. It is the illusion. It looked right this way, right? But these being skewed with not being, there was one stitch on this side, but there was 4 stitches on this side. So you're able to see those marks that you made on the dart, on the waste canvas before you turned it. Now you've got them pressed this way. Now you can line up your stitches from the front side by using that mark with your oval. So it will always be perfectly centered correctly in there. Okay, so now we can take and we can cut our foam core. All right, the first 2 darts you're going to turn up and in are going to be the ones that lay on your line. You know, you're going to have to make sure it's, you know, kind of centered in there, then, and that they're going to hit those marks. And you're going to be able to see extra space of stitching all the way around this, because we got to accommodate for pulling it up that the thickness of this, right? You've watched my videos, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so you put those 2 tabs on first so that you know your stitches are going to be right. And even if you have to sacrifice some of the stitches that are on this side to make sure you're not losing too much on this side, so you've shifted it over on the inside, you may end up, because of, if it's really a skewed as design, like say these were off by 6 each way, then you might have extra stitching at this bottom corner that you're going to have to pull under. You're going to lose it if you want the oval to be the correct, if you want your stitches to look straight, you're going to have to potentially roll some under. You'll understand when you do this. And if you've tried to do an oval, you'll get it when you put it on, okay? While you might not want to, it happens. It just, again, depends on if there is a shift within the oval. And so this end ends up being a little heavier than this side because this one shifted down a few stitches compared to over here. I mean, it really, the reason I did this particular one is because someone in the self-finishing Facebook group did this and said, oh, if I had just traced around this prior, it still would have looked wonky because these stitches are not straight across the same. The assumption, I make the assumption as a finisher that these stitches are in the exact same spot as these stitches, but they're not. Sorry, I've been showing this and it's not even on the screen. So when you have these lined up, there, and there, you can see how this end has a little more to it. Even if I put these 3 stitches in, 3 stitches in, when it was painted, this has more stitches on this end of the oval. So you're going to be accommodating for that. And that's why I make mine, just when it's an oval, just a little smaller than the larger version, because it gives us a little bit more playroom. Otherwise, it might be too close to one edge to pull it around, and you'll have waste canvas showing, and that's just as annoying. So now we have, okay, this is our foam core that is inside our needlepoint. Okay. All right, I've got it all nice and lovely, right? So then, when I have my other piece of foam core, what I want to do is, so this is covered with needlepoint, okay? Here we have our piece that's covered in needlepoint. We trace this, we have to trace this piece to get our backing, right? Right. So what I did is, on the backs, while looking at the back side, so that I can see where my line is there, I'm going to put a pin there. All right. Then I'm going to put a pin there. So here's my needle point. I can see the design. I'm going to lay it on. I'm going to trace around it to get my backing size. Tick, tick there. Okay, right? And all we care about is this mark right there, not way out. If your pin is a little wonky, don't worry about it. Okay, so now we have a center. So now we take our ruler, okay, and we mark which way is up. Because even though we had these in here, say there was a knot that was on this edge and maybe it bowed out a little bit, or maybe whatever, it never ends up being perfectly round because of the stitching that's on the back side, or whatever. Just sometimes there's a little issue. So this is our needlepoint piece. All right, so now we have our up. So we have now covered. Now we take our felt and we put our felt on and we trim it and we put our fabric on. You know, we put our fabric there and we dart it and we get it all pinned on beautifully. And if there is a plaid pattern on the back, we can help have this used as a guide, okay? So that we know our pattern that's on the back of the material is going to go on straight, because we want that to be straight when we turn from side to side too, okay? So we have it all wrapped in fabric. Now we're going to come back in with our pins, all right, like so, okay? We're going to put our glue on, hot glue on, so we don't have to sew it first, and we put a little hot glue on there. Leave your void for the hanger. All right, and we put our needle point face down on it, and then we shift it while the glue's hot to make sure that it's the right size. Okay, so we can make sure that while the glue's warm that we have it perfectly sitting on top. We know what's front, we know what's back. It's the same trick I use when I do monogramming, like I've said repeatedly. And I hope that these tricks help you to have a oval ornament that you do not fight with it shifting, because I'm telling you every time I do it, because when this is stitched continental or basket weave and just our directional stitching in general, the right side and the left side is always going to be a little off compared to this side because of the angle that the stitches will naturally go in. So this affords you the ability to adjust, make your templates. They're always going to be the right oval. And I mean, if you look at this, if you were to trace this prior to it, it's a little off. So when you go to make your template for this prior to it, saying, oh, well, now I'll have the outline of it before, it still isn't going to be quite right. So the same thing happens with round ornaments. It can happen with the top and the bottom and the left and the right, where they're just not the same stitches straight across. The amount of stitches on opposite sides of the circle. So it's just better to make a template that you know is round or oval. And it is so helpful with ovals to do this. I don't do this with the round because a round is a round is a round. I do the darts. I start with the darts at the top, then the bottom, then left and the right, and you can kind of position it within, and just that template in general is going to give you a round ornament. Whereas this, if you don't have the horizon line or crosshairs, or it's so difficult, and there have been some ovals where I forgot to put this, and one of them was an Easter egg, and it was more oval than egg shape. It was supposed to be for a kissing ball. I made myself nuts trying to do this because it had these vertical lines going through it. But then I finally realized, I'm like, why is this? And it was all because this oval that they had done, it was 3 more on one side, 1 more, and it just wasn't even. Even though the center lines were there were extra to the left and to the right, and the left on the side, on the top and the bottoms. So just make your life easy. The program's really easy to use. You definitely want to make your life as simple as possible with these things. And, you know, I should have some, facial tick by this point after so many years of doing finishing with all the weird little foibles that come up. But this is your answer to trying to get a good oval and make this wonderfully necessary shape not be quite so evil for you. So good luck and happy stitching and finishing. Hope it helps.